This video walks employers through accessing payroll-related documents and employee accounts and their Method CPA portal. So we're going to go to the Method CPA website, www.methodcpa.com. Go up to our client login. You should have already received your username and password. If not, just contact our office. Just as a reminder, once you've logged in, if you haven't already done so, we recommend you go to your name up here in the top right, left click, and set security questions. This will allow you to reset your password in the future yourself. If you ever need to update your password, you can change it here. To access the payroll documents, we're going to go now to the left navigation pane. We're going to click on the name of our company. And we have multiple different folders. So let's go into the payroll folder. There's going to be an additional folder for each payroll date. So here in this example, we're running biweekly payroll with the pay date December 7th and then December 21st. And then this is the quarter end or year end. So we're going to have all the payroll related forms here in this folder. So let's just kind of run through these. So on 12/7, we're going to have the payroll checks. We're going to view them, but you can left click. Any of this stuff you want to keep copies, you can click which ones. You can download the selected. You can hit download all. It'll grab everything on the screen and save them to your computer, but you'll always have access to them in your portal. So let's go to take a peek at payroll checks. So this just shows you copies again of every check, but everybody's paycheck's going to show the amounts, the year to dates, and so forth. This pops out in a second window, so I'm going to X off this window, which will take us back. Now let's go into our standard payroll reports. This is going to show the total of all the checks. So here's our net checks with a total amount. It's going to show you this employee earnings report. The current's going to be for the current pay run. In this example, since we're in December, month to date would be for the whole month of December. This would be for the whole quarter, or year to date. These numbers are all the same because we just have one payroll so far this year. And then we scroll down at the end here, we're going to have our company totals. This will be the summation of the totals for all of the employees. Accrual benefits, if we are tracking such as paid time off or vacation, this is going to show up here. The depository totals, this report's going to show you kind of the total cost outlay of the payroll as far as wages and taxes. So we have our gross pay. This report will also show employee taxes withheld. So here we have the Social Security and Medicare. We also have FITs for federal income tax, and then we have Virginia SIT for state income tax withheld. But for our true payroll costs, it's going to be our gross wages, and then it's going to be our employer share of Social Security and Medicare. And then our employer also has federal unemployment and state unemployment. So if we add the 94.4, the 7221, the 86, and the 411, that's going to be this total number here, 102,119 in this example. I'm going to again close out this window that popped out. We go back to this screen. We're going to go up here and click on the up one level. This will take us back. Now let's look at the 1221. So with the 1221, that's going to be the last payroll run where we have to make tax deposits. So if we go into these standard payroll reports, not only do we have one more paycheck on December 21st, we also have tax payments being scheduled. So we're going to show you those. So we have an EFTPS, Electronic Federal Tax Payment System, for the 941, which is federal withholding, Social Security, Medicare, that's scheduled to come out on January 15th, and for that amount. And then our 940, which is our federal unemployment, that's going to be coming out on January 31st of 8880. And then the Virginia withholding we have scheduled for January 20th, and there's that number. So that way you know all the numbers that are coming out of your account. You can go and subtract them out of your check register, or just be aware that these amounts will be scheduled to come out at a future date. But that way you can go ahead and account for that. Any other items that you need to be aware of, we will notate on this checklist. This checklist is one of the primary pages you always want to look at. We might mention, for example, that we're missing Social Security cards for certain employees, or just anything you need to be aware of. And one other thing to mention, we'll always notify you when payroll is complete, whether we're calling or emailing, but there'll always be a notification that everything's complete. Then you can go into the portal and review everything. The rest of this is similar, just the same as what we went through before. I'm going to close this window that had popped out. We're going to go up a level again. Now let's look at our year end. So within our year end, we're going to have copies of all our payroll forms. So here's our W-3, which is a summation of all the W-2s. We have our W-2s for Virginia. We have our employer copies of W-2s. So you can click here. These are just copies of all the W-2s that were generated for 2018. Our quarterly payroll reports. This is going to be the Form 941, which is going to be federal withholding, Social Security, Medicare. So you have a copy of that report. Then our Virginia unemployment, that's also filed quarterly. So there'll be a copy of this report. Close this window. Our Form 940, which is our federal unemployment, that form is completed once a year. So you'll have that just at year end. Here's a copy of that report. Let's go up one level. One other thing I want to point out, I'm actually going to go over and click on the company name to go back to the highest level here with all the different folders. You'll also see this employee setup forms. This folder, everything for the employees that you send us, for example, their W-4, their VA-4 that shows the withholdings they want, the I-9 form, we get a copy of their driver's license, social security card. We will provide copies of all this out here on your portal. So we keep a copy on our server, and then we also sync it out. So if you send them to us, you'll have an electronic copy of all of those forms broke out by year. So that'll be what this folder's for. And in priorities, we kind of went through some of these other things. If we're doing financial statements, they'll be within this. The client action required is solely related to the annual income tax returns. Any invoices or statements that we generate, you'll have copies of those here. And of course, your income tax returns will be here. One other thing I want to point out is if you go to this, so we have two tabs here. So the net client CS is what we're kind of going through now. The admin, if we go into that, let's say we click clients, that's just going to show you the one employer account we have set up here, this ABC company. But if we click users, this is going to show all the employees that are registered to have their own portal so they can access their pay stubs and W-2s. So here we have an employee called John Worker. So if I click here, we can see what they're going to see. So the employer has access to everything all of their employees have. So when we click here, we can say, okay, here's the checks. If we want to know what they're seeing, here's the two pay stubs for John Worker. We can click one. It's going to pull that particular pay stub up. We could always print it if we needed to. If we go to W-2s, it's going to show that W-2 for this employee. And again, we can click it and it'll pull up the employee's copy. One thing I really want to point out, so if you go here to John Worker, he forgets his password and he did not set up his security question. So the employer can click here. They can come in and type in any password 1. And you have to do it twice. Actually, it'll probably make you put a special symbol, but as you start doing it, it's going to tell you the requirements. So if you set up a new password for your employee, you just type it in twice, and you come down and click enter here in the bottom right of the screen, and that will reset their password. And of course, when they go back to log in, they can change it and hopefully set up their security questions for future use. Once you're finished going through everything, don't forget to come up, click on your name, and click log out, and that'll take you back to our primary website.